I've been waiting ever so patiently for this time to come, where every other day we start to get new details and news about the upcoming Spider-Man movie, and we are finally here. Now, things have been snowballing these past few weeks, and it's got me thinking about what I want to see from this film, so in this video, we're going to be talking about what I want from Spider-Man Brand New Day. So originally, this movie was rumored to be another multiverse story directed by John Watts, with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield returning, and honestly, I am so glad that we are not doing that anymore. That ground's been covered. We celebrated that in No Way Home, so to do it again would just be repetitive and it would not hit as hard at all. And if you're going to do it again, which we all think you should, maybe do it in Secret Wars. That's like the large scale thing that, worlds are going to collide. It would make sense for Tobey and Andrew to come back. Instead, Brand New Day is getting a brand new director, that of Destin Daniel Cretton. You may know him from directing Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And while I wasn't sure about the decision at first, the way he's been speaking about Spider-Man and the direction he wants to take the character, saying things about wanting to be more grounded and more personal, has me very optimistic and hopeful for what he has in store. An element that I've been very looking forward to as of late is the stunt sequence and stunt coordinator. Now we're getting Peng Zhang, who was the stunt coordinator for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings and other movies like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I bring up these two movies especially because it shows a good duality of the styles of action he's able to work with. We have more organized martial arts techniques in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and we have something that's a little bit more spontaneous, unpredictable, and comical in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and I think putting those two together is the recipe for a great Spider-Man action sequence. There's also a rumor going around that Marvel and Sony are planning on doing one of the largest MCU action sequences we've ever seen in Brand New Day. This sequence will require a bunch of safety coordination. It'll take over a month to shoot. It'll be filmed in a heavily populated area, and it'll be mostly practical. Now, as cool as that sounds, I will get into what I think that action sequence will be a little later on when we talk about some characters we might see. One of Sony's deal breakers over the years has been wanting Marvel to include an MCU character of high popularity in the solo Spider-Man movies to boost hype for the movie and ensure fans that they are watching an MCU movie, and then obviously get them more money. In Homecoming, we had Iron Man and appearances from Captain America. In Far From Home, we had Nick Fury and Maria Hill. And in No Way Home, we have Doctor Strange and a few appearances from Wong. Now, I originally was wanting someone like the Human Torch or Deadpool or Daredevil, but it seems we've already got our MCU tie-in character, that of the Hulk. Now, this is a rather recent rumor, it's not confirmed, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But fans have been pointing out the unique relationship between the Hulk and Spider-Man, especially in this comic here, where very similar to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, everybody forgets who Peter Parker is, but the Hulk never forgets, and he becomes someone that Peter can actually rely on, and maybe we see something like that in Brand New Day. And honestly, if that is the truth, that would make a lot of early 2000s Marvel fans really happy. I think there was a certain point when I was younger where I liked the Hulk better than Spider-Man, and that's crazy to say, but I've always had like a soft spot for the Hulk now, ever since he's been wrong so many times in the MCU, and I would love to see him done right again. In a Spider-Man movie too, that'd be awesome. But there is no Spider-Man movie without the superpowered lunatic trying to kill him, so let's talk about the villains of this movie. Now, a few days ago, there was a Disney consumer panel where we did get that misleading poster of Spider-Man, but essentially this panel is toy companies and merch companies. Lego goes there, and Disney presents what they have going on, and these companies get these ideas for different types of merchandise they can sell. And when it came to Spider-Man Brand New Day, we heard names like Boomerang, Tarantula, Scorpion, and Tombstone. And another name that we've been hearing way too much about online is Mr. Negative. Now, we don't doubt that any of these characters appear. In fact, if these are true, I think all of these characters will appear in some capacity. With Boomerang, Tarantula, Scorpion, and Tombstone, I think those are going to be kind of our baseline mid-level, villain of the week that Peter fights on a weekly basis. And maybe, just maybe, they're employed by Mr. Negative and his gang of demons. So if Mr. Negative is the main villain of this movie, I'm all in on that. If you played Spider-Man PS4, you already know how powerful that story was. The way they wove Martin Lee's duality into Peter's life, into Aunt May's life, into Feast, into Norman and Otto's life, into Miles Morales' life, It gave the character such emotional weight, and it wasn't really just about the fight. It was about the city, it was about the community, and it was about Peter's world just getting ripped apart. And this movie could replicate that and have Peter find true meaning in this new life that he's living. Bringing us back to those 4 baseline villains, Boomerang, Tombstone, Scorpion, and Tarantula, I think they're going to be part of this huge action sequence that we were talking about earlier. Just imagine in the beginning of Brand New Day, we get this insane action sequence. It's like maybe 5 minutes long of Spider-Man fighting these 4 mid-level villains and just absolutely kicking butt. It would kick off this movie in a major way, making the 5-year-long wait worth it, and set the tone for the Spider-Man movie that we're about to watch. Now, with the whole world forgetting Peter Parker at the end of No Way Home, this film has a clean slate, and will most likely become the soft reboot that Destin Daniel Cretton has been talking about, taking a new direction for Peter and with a new supporting cast. He should be in college now, attending Empire State University, juggling schoolwork, crime fighting, and keeping rent paid by selling photos of Spider-Man to J. Jonah Jameson. It's classic Peter Parker that we really haven't seen in the MCU yet, and it's really too easy to integrate. And I'm hoping the new supporting cast reflects this life that Peter is now living. We could have people at the Daily Bugle, we could have classmates, professors, volunteers at Feast. People grounded in his new world that serve importance not just in Peter's life, but to the world around them. Now, there are some rumors about Zendaya and Jacob Batalon returning for their roles as MJ and Ned, and if that happens, I think it should be very brief. I mean, they shouldn't have significant roles. I think if we were to see them, it should be Peter just checking in on them or something. Like, there's no reason to rehash these past dynamics that wouldn't make any sense, because he gave up MJ and Ned to keep them safe. So rehashing that dynamic would just go back on everything that No Way Home had established. We need to let Peter grow without relying on past dynamics. He needs to grow up in this new life that he's living. There's also been a lot of talk about castings. Now, these haven't been necessarily confirmed, but they've kind of been confirmed. We have Liza Colon-Zayas and Sadie Sink. Both are playing unidentified characters at the moment, but for Liza Colon-Zayas, I really think she is going to be someone in Peter's life, a neighbor, a volunteer at Feast, a professor, someone in that capacity who won't have too much importance into the Spider-Man story, but in Peter's story for sure. But Sadie Sink is the confusing one, because this one hasn't been totally confirmed either, but some are saying that she's gonna be Gwen Stacy, some are saying Black Cat, others are saying that she'll be Jean Grey to set up new X-Men stories in the future, and then some others say that this movie's going to take place on Battle World and it's going to be Tobey Maguire's daughter, Mayday Parker. Now, I think it's safe to say that those last two won't happen, but if she is playing someone like a love interest, it's probably Gwen or Felicia. And if it's either of those, I really hope they're handled with care, because at the moment, Peter doesn't need a romantic relationship. It isn't really necessary to the story, so if there is one, it should serve his growth and not just tick a box. One of the biggest things I need from this movie is for Spider-Man to return to his local roots. We've had alien invasions, multiverse collisions, and global catastrophes, but Spider-Man is at his best when he's in New York. Swinging through the boroughs, cracking jokes, stopping street-level crime, and being present with his community. Those small personal moments that Peter has with his neighbors matter. It defines his character. Give us time in the suit that's not tied to major plot. Just Spider-Man existing in the city, and the true importance of his character will shine. Above all, this film doesn't need to overreach. It doesn't need to tease 10 future projects, it doesn't need an overload of MCU cameos, it doesn't need returning themes and dynamics. All it needs to be is a story about Peter Parker rebuilding his life, protecting his community, and being the best Spider-Man that he can. And the only thing that matters is I will be there, no doubt. I will be there 2 hours early with my popcorn, peanut M&Ms, and orange vanilla Coke. Thanks, guys.